Today's vlog is brought to you by Taco Bell. But what is it?
Yeah, what was the
but first, remember the...
Oh yeah,
we've got something huge happening at Sightbox. We're so excited about it. We're launching a new website, as you see here. An agency for founders. Did he change that?
No,
it says the wrong thing,
you gotta
right?
flip it. Yeah.
And we're gonna show you a sneak peek, but first.
A message from our sponsor.
A message from our sponsor. Why did we eat at Taco Bell?
Have you ever had the craving for taco meat in 3 different shapes?
What is it called? That fake meat? Beyond
Beyond beef or whatever. Beyond meat.
Taco Bell's been doing that already. For
Dude,
years.
remember they got sued because they called it meat?
Yeah.
And it's like 70% meat
Yeah.
and like 30% not meat.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yep.
Otherwise known as Taco Bell. No, I love Taco Bell because like
$5 fill-up box even came with these guys. Huh?
Yeah.
Look at this.
Dude, I love Taco Bell. Like every 6 months they have to create a new shape. Like that's all they do. Like, this time we're gonna make it a hexagon.
Yeah.
Right? This time we're gonna make it a...
If you haven't seen it, the best thing I've ever seen online with Taco Bell is the Conan O'Brien bit.
Oh yeah. When he goes to
the test kitchen.
That's right.
Oh my god.
What was it? The Otaco?
Yeah, you gotta show that. What was it? The Otaco.
Today I'm going to give to you my invention for Taco Bell, the Irish taco.
I'm really excited.
It's called the Otaco. Cabbage, mashed potatoes, corned beef, and lots of corned beef. And then my own special sauce. The griller, please.
My gosh, and bigor. It's the Otaco. I'm Taco Bell. Grab yours today at the end of the rainbow.
Oh,
Otaco.
dude, so good.
Classic.
Anyways, yeah, we've been launching, or in the process of launching, a new website now that we're sort of pivoting away from the traditional corporate client. So if you're one of our corporate clients, this is probably news to you, but we're not gonna fully disappear. We're pivoting into the startup space, which, as some of you know, have been watching, we're startup founders, so we're finding ourselves in this kind of cool niche of tech startups. You know, we've been working with a couple of VCs now to sort of get involved in some of the portfolio companies. So it's a good time here at Sightbox. We're working with the strategist on a growth plan too. So we're in the middle of a lot of changes. Tap That app, as you saw in the last vlog, we're building that. And as I was telling Josiah when we walked in, what we're building currently is nothing really way different than what we showed on the last video. So that's just how things change, and that's how fast things move around here. But here's a little sneak peek. This headline's a little wrong, but kind of get a feel for what we're building here. Give us a little bit of a walkthrough here.
Yeah, so rather than sort of building your typical agency website that goes through, here's our portfolio, here's our capabilities, here's our team, all that kind of stuff, what we wanted to sort of lead with was more of a feed of what we're up to. And so it's more like a mixed bag. Like the first one was our vlog, right? The second panel here is some work, so we're kind of mixing that in. But then you
see, here's some client work, corporate client work. So
absolutely.
We're not fully going away from it.
No, we're bringing the goods to our corporate clients. That's the truth. And then you scroll down. We got this, announcing some meetup dates for our Go Founders meetup. So
Yeah, we've got some coming up, right?
yeah, next week I
Next
think.
week. Yeah.
And or the week after, yeah. And scroll down, some GoFounder stuff. This is part of our new blog that we're going to put out called Insights. So we're talking about how Epic made $3 billion profit by making a free game called Fortnite. You might have heard of it.
Yep.
But being free can make you a lot of money. That's the story there.
And we might animate this so you could see the flossing.
You can pick your dance.
That would be sick.
Well, here we're talking about the incubator. That's still something we're working on, but we've got room in Folsom.
Yeah, if you're in the
office there.
Sacramento area, we've got fresh desks there. We've got open space there. You know, if you're working on a project, definitely hit us up. Sightboxfactory.com. We've got openings there.
Yep.
We'd love to have you.
Yeah.
And you have access to us, even though we're remote.
And then case study, right? So that's the thought. So it's just going to be kind of a live feed of all this stuff, and that'll change. Like hopefully every time you come back to the site, it'll be a little different.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's our menu. that we're working
That's
on.
that's the def. That I mean that's a mega menu.
So that's a mega menu.
Mega menu. So yeah, the part of the new sort of Sightbox way is going to be around this 2020 method, right? That we've been sort of trying to define what that is still. What's the idea behind the 2020 method?
So the thought of that whole thing was that how are we doing this? Like, so as an agency, what are we doing? We're helping startups. How are we helping them? We're helping them look like $1 billion, right? And the question is, how do we do that, right? How do we make a startup look like $1 billion? And we obviously have tools in our toolbox to do so, but rather than just sort of, to do that, that's a very specific kind of thing, right? So what we're doing is looking at $1 billion startups and looking at how they did it, right? So how did they become what they are? And taking notes from that book and then using it for our, for these startups. The thing is, like, in the world of agencies and consulting, there's always sort of like best practices that exist, and so while typically they work, the game has changed, right? And so our thesis is that the world of business is forever changed by how startups have kind of come and evolved and taken over those industries. So you're either sort of evolving into a startup, or you are a startup, or you're going to be eaten by one. That's our thesis on this. And so what we want to do is take case studies from existing $1 billion companies, otherwise known as unicorns, $1 billion startups, I should say, and apply them to other startups and say, rather than sort of make this up as we go, what can we learn? How can we step, how can we be on step on the shoulders of giants and evolve faster? So that's kind of what the 2020 method is to do. And the idea here too is we're called Sightbox, so it's sort of a vision play. Mm-hmm. But we kind of like the idea of the number 20 because it sort of kind of put us in a position of having a lot of examples, right? So ideally we would have the first thought was it was 20 things that unicorns do, and it was 20 things that unicorns don't do was the original thought. And the reason that don't do is important is it kind of felt like there needed to be not only things that our clients should be looking to do differently in a positive way, but there might even be things that they're doing that are sort of errors in their way, right? So it's sort of corrective. $1 billion startups didn't do this, right? They didn't do that. They sort of avoided some of those pitfalls. Those are going to be harder to find in some cases, but I think.
But this is a product we're selling.
Yeah, this is
per se, right?
Yeah, this is sort of what I want to be walking in with and saying this is something special that we do, that is worth, you know, when we apply this to you, or if we find those relevant examples, like it can be, you know, it can change everything, right? Especially coming from an outside perspective. You know, we've met with a lot of startups, and the truth is, I mean, we're the same way. Is we sit and we get tunnel vision, and so because you're just, the second you have what you think you need to do, your focus is just how do I get to the end of that? Like how do I get it done so I can ship it? But a lot of the times it's having an outside opinion who might, you know, have relevant examples that you could use. That's where I think we can play and bring a lot of value. So that's the plan. So, but I think right now, today, what I want to sort of focus on is what is that? How does that process work? What kind of examples make sense? I mean, we played around a little bit.
Yeah, we
with
have.
it. Yeah, pull that up. Because I think some of that was really relevant. But there's also sort of the other side of this, which is sort of that, you know, we go through this process, we come up with some great ideas, and then how do we sort of structure that then into a vision? Because it's not so much like, you know, if the process is simply like, hey, let's look at a bunch of examples, we're only going half the way with them, you know, it's not really going all the way. You know, this is what I want to talk about, right?
Yeah.
Like, how does this process work? Typically, how we've sort of done these things is we start with like the problem and we go into the solution, right? That's a very broad problem. How does Trimble Transportation establish itself as the future of transportation logistics? You know, that's a very broad problem to solve. It's not very specific. So the answers sort of lend themselves to that. I mean, we could just say, what's the problem? How do we make this startup look like $1 billion, right? I mean, you could start all of them with that if you wanted to, right? I mean, it's essentially the method or the problem we're trying to solve. But then, like, I was thinking about this. So I've been, like, last night I was racking my brain about AR wall. And I'm sitting there going, like, dude, like how would you solve that? How would you turn that company into $1 billion company? And I did all this research and stuff. And I'm like, here's the thing. Like, it's in that motion picture world, it's almost impossible, right? I didn't know this, but you remember how George Lucas, he sold he sold ILM, Star Wars, the rights and all that stuff to Disney for $4 billion. I mean, ILM was in there. So how much do you think ILM was worth? If it was, you know what I mean, the whole package was $4 billion. Like, Star Wars should have been $4 billion, just licensing,
Yeah.
right? Just the ownership of those rights. But somehow they threw like ILM in the mix. So you're like, here's ILM. Like, so for a company that does one product that really is just a software solution on top of it, like being valued at $1 billion to be that sort of thing is not realistic.
Right. If our job is to make him look like.
That's the question, right? What's our goal? Are we in there to go, look?
What's the actual problem we're solving?
Yeah, exactly. Like,
yeah.
Like, you know, even with HiQ, like, do we go in and say, here's how we're going to turn you into $1 billion company? Because that means almost like a complete pivot. You know what I mean? Like, or is the question like, how do we apply these principles to your company?
Yeah, I don't know that.
You know what I'm
going
saying?
in with problem is always the right.
Yeah, I don't know if it is either. I don't know if in this case, I don't know if it is. That's what I'm questioning.
Let's use Tap That App as an example.
Okay.
Let's pretend it's not ours.
Yeah.
And it's, these guys came to us and said, we need to, this is what we want, this is what it is, right? Here's our goal, here's where we're at, this is the phase we're in, this is whatever. We need to make this thing look like $1 billion. because we need a round, Series A round, whatever.
Yeah.
And are we going in then and saying, well, let's figure out your problem and then find a solution for it? Or are we coming in saying, this is, because at the end of this, what we're delivering is, this is how we perceive you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sort of.
Or the new perception.
The new perception, which is like the clarity, the 2020, right? The play on words there.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, but what we're debating here is, what's the method to get to that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah, it's almost like reverse engineering. Like, how do we end up getting to where we get?
Right.
You know, what's the process?
Because up to now, everything we do is just, I call it gut,
Mm-hmm.
right? We do what we feel,
Right.
and we get to conclusions based on some research and facts and our experience, right?
Yeah.
In this space and in what we do, but if we're going to put it into a method,
Yeah.
that's the challenge.
So here's what I'm thinking, because truthfully, so what I love about the idea of this sort of $1 billion goal is what it's really saying. Okay, if I'm being honest, is how do we make what you do be valuable to that level, right? So even if you look at TAP, right? When we went through the Precelerator, we started out as one thing, but then those ideas of like Tapify came in,
Mm-hmm.
right? Subscription, of being an app store, of being all this stuff. That ultimately, why did those ideas sort of present themselves? Because we were constantly asking ourselves, how do we bring the most value to our user base, right? Which is users and app developers, right? How do we bring value to both of them? And that's where those ideas came in, right? As an answer to those questions, or to that sort of question. So it's almost like, to me, it's almost the same thing. Like, if we hold that $1 billion thing out there, that should apply to everything, right? So it's almost like, I still like it because it gets the frame of mind correct.
Yes.
Because if we just say, how do we make your business better?
No.
That's I don't want to be in that sort
No,
of.
screw that.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody who's doing this is in it for $1 billion.
Yes, if they're not, they're probably not a good client. I shouldn't say that. They're probably not people that will be able to help in that way, right?
That's a great way to put it. And people may question or wonder why. One, what could you bring to the table in terms of value that would make us look like $1 billion? And two is, what benefit do I have looking like $1 billion right now when I'm not a $1 billion company?
Yeah.
And I will tell you exactly why, based on experience, because I don't know that we've actually ever said this on record.
Yeah. We've
told this story before. When we launched Tap That App in 2016, we went to Austin. We went launched at South by Southwest, which could arguably be the biggest tech event of the year, probably anywhere, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's where Twitter launched, right?
Yeah.
So we're sort of like.
Yeah, we have a whole video on that whole launch. Anyways, man, we had just, was it Precelerator before or after that? It was after, right? So the only thing we had going into it was a beta that we built for very cheap, and man, we branded and marketed the crap out of it. Like, we made this thing look like $1 billion, right?
Yeah.
From day one, we did this.
Oh yeah.
So we go on there. We've got our swag. We've got our, you know what I mean?
we had a rap.
We had a rap. You guys heard that? We had a street team. Remember,
dude.
we had bikes.
Oh,
we
bikes.
had pink bikes.
Yes.
We were cruisers that we were passing out T-shirts downtown. We had the whole thing going. Our social media was popping. And this is the best part of the story. We look like $1 billion. We weren't. We weren't. Very first encounter with a venture capital, with a VC, was an email we got, I think the second day we were there. And somebody with an email address at A16Z.
.com, yeah.
.com emailed and said, "Hey, are you guys around?" I say, "Hey man, some guy emailed us. We should probably check this guy out before we say we're here or not." So let me go Google A16Z. So then we go up and look up A16Z, and it's this firm called Andreessen Horowitz. And if you haven't heard of it, you should just Google it.
Yeah.
So basically, in this world, they're basically like the largest VC in Silicon Valley. They funded everybody. Facebook, Twitter, Uber, Lyft, you name it, they funded it. They're the biggest of the biggest. And that was the first email we got ever from a VC. So we then immediately, right, we said, write them back. Yes, we're here, when can we meet? So I send them my number, and then I think the next day we're downtown walking around, right, passing out flyers, whatever. And then I get a text from this VC, and he says, "Hey, can you meet?" I said, "Sure, where?" I'm at the lobby, Hilton lobby bar.
Mm-hmm.
On my way, right?
Yeah.
Man, Nate and I booked it over there.
Yeah.
We booked it. So we go over there, and we go into this like bar, and he's sitting in the back.
In the corner.
In the corner, you know, the big chair.
Yeah.
And we're like, "Hey, what's going on?" And we had a swag and everything, and he downloads our app. Remember, he had two phones. He had an Android and an iPhone. And first he said, "I love the name," right? He's like, "Great name."
He got it.
He got it. He got the joke. Then he downloaded the app, and then he holds it up, and he says, "Guys, remember this?" He says, "This is $1 billion idea right here." And he's looking at his dead in the eyes, right?
Yeah.
This is $1 billion idea.
Yeah.
And right then and there, we thought,
Yeah.
we made it.
Yeah.
We've made it. Where do we? It's like a record deal, right?
Yeah. Like this is it.
We made it to the big time.
This is it.
And then he proceeds to ask a bunch of questions, right, about users, traction, all the same stuff VCs ask. And that meeting went.
Yeah.
The meeting went downhill.
Well, suddenly
It kind of did.
Well, it sort of was like, wait a second, like you guys just launched this, like a week ago, like
Yeah.
whoa, and I
No,
think
like 3 days ago.
3 days ago, and I think he even said something along the lines of like, you guys look like you're a lot further along than you
Yes.
are. Something like that, and so, and he was right. We looked like we were a lot further along, but the point was that
Moral of the story.
moral of the story is that looking at part helps get you the audition.
Yes.
Right? So had we had, more traction, had we whatever, and we could have had that opportunity, that
Sure.
that conversation could have gone somewhere totally different. Absolutely. I mean, he was talking about, I'm going to get you guys, Ryan Hoover's hanging out here, I'm going to get you to hang out with Product Hunt founder and all this stuff. And I mean, he's just dropping names left and right. And honestly, I think, that I think he was sincere in what he said. And he did even say, like, basically his thing was, you just need to work a little, get your stuff together, show some traction, and then we'll talk.
Yeah.
So anyway, so looking the part is key. And I'll be honest too, I don't know if, were you there? There was one of the Meet the VCs thing at the Precelerator, and one of the guys was talking, I forget what firm he was, or VC firm he was in, but someone asked, like during the Q&A, like, how do I increase my chances of getting picked, or at least make the short list with you guys? And he's like, I'll tell you right now, one of the easiest ways you can do it is, he's like, make a really good looking pitch deck. Make it easy to read,
but
make it smart, make it just clean, nice, make it compelling.
Yeah.
He's like, if you can do that, he's like, I'll have to look at he's like, when I get submissions, he's like, I get over 1,000. And he's like, if I open, he's like, it's a real simple process. I open it, and I spend about 30 seconds with it, and if it's a complete shit show, I go to the next one.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care if that, he's like, I might be passing by the next light bulb idea, but it doesn't matter because I can't make my way through that pitch deck.
Mhm.
And so I'm like, boom, you know, you can call that what you want, but that's branding. That's understanding who you are. That's
Right.
looking like the company,
Yep.
you know, that's worth $1 billion. At least one that's capable of it,
Capable, yeah.
right?
Yeah, and we've done pitch events, right, where we've had the best looking presentation.
Oh yeah.
Not necessarily the best idea, right?
Right.
And I mean, most of the time we get complimented on it, like by other founders, right?
Oh yeah.
Like, dang it, man, you guys' presentations are always sick, right?
Mhm.
Slick. Well, that's what we're selling here, right? This is what we're selling,
Yeah.
and it's very valuable,
Yeah.
especially to those of startups that have the traction, you know, that have the users, have a product, and they just need to kick it up, you know, step it up. I think that's where we come in, really.
Yeah. But it's also, you know, I think, so there's ways we can sort of do this. But part of it too is going a little deeper down, right? Saying, how do we help these companies have better product market fit, so that ultimately it's more appealing, it sells itself, right? That's really what we want to be helping do.
Yep.
And then you add into that the whole idea of being, worth $1 billion and all the stuff that goes along with that.
And why isn't it enough to be $1 million company or multi-million dollar?
Because most VC firms are looking for the big home run, and so because most startups fail, so you have to play the odds, right? And the only way you can sort of succeed as a VC firm is to really have some unicorns once in a while that pay for everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's such a thing. Like, you know, if you have, say, $5 million to invest, you know, as a small VC firm, you've got to make very strategic. Let's say there's 10 companies you're investing in. You have to assume that over half of those are going to fail. Just it's not going to take off. You don't know which half, right? But say 50% of them, 5 of them are gone out of the 10. 2 of them might do okay to the point where they're acquired. You know, they might go through another round, and you basically make double your money, maybe, or maybe you make back what you put in. So it really takes those companies that go parabolic, like that just go 10x, 20x, and that's typically what happens when they go to the $1 billion level. And those are the ones that make it worthwhile. So when VCs are looking at your startup, they're not really interested in sort of investing in a $100 million startup, because even if it goes well, they're still behind. So it's like everyone has to be a home run slugger. You've got to basically you're trying to recruit a baseball team of just people that hit homers. Right? That's it.
And they strike out more than they.
Yeah. Look, they're gonna swing hard and they're gonna woof.
Yep.
Woof. You know. It only takes one guy to crack it to win the game.
Yep.
You know. Versus a bunch of base hits that are gonna be outs. You know, like you're not gonna win.
No.
Because the odds are against you. You need someone to hack the system to win the game. All right. So when I'm looking here is like, how do we phrase the question, right? Like how do we make blank look like look at me, $1 million. What? How do we make blank look like $1 billion? Or how can blank look like $1 billion? This is the question, right? Like, and I'm wondering if look is the right word. It sounds silly to say it. I kind of think it's important only because we aren't promising that they're actually going to be worth $1 billion.
No.
Right? So
I don't like perceive either, because then it means perceived sounds disingenuous,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Sounds like we're selling something, false promise or something.
Right. Like we're cooking the books or something.
Yeah.
You know, like, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe look is a version of what we're looking for. But yeah, I see the
What's the phrase? It's looked like $1 million, right? Or
Yeah.
says it looks like $1 million.
Yeah. Because right now you're just assuming that if you're just thinking of us as an agency and the product itself is why do I need to look like $1 billion?
Yeah.
We need to sort of answer
The why. Yeah.
Why do they need to look like $1 billion?
Right. Well, my hope is that in talking to founders, they'll get this pretty quick, you know. And again, most and VCs will get that.
Yeah.
Like that's what keeps them up at night. You know. Do I have it?
Maybe what I mean by why is, okay, now that you look the part, how do we sort of inspire you to become the part? Like,
Yeah.
now actually be $1 billion.
You can't just go through a branding exercise and then ta-da, you're $1 billion company. There has to be action, right? I mean, maybe it is sort of, I'm just going to throw this, you know, look and act, you know, maybe it's something like that too, you know? So, it's a little more,
So then you're getting into brand vision too,
yeah.
right? So then you're getting,
And maybe this is sort of more of a, maybe this comes into that brand vision side of it.
Yeah.
That's when we ask the question.
because this is a little more tangible here.
Yeah, that's more executional, right?
Right.
Here it is. Like we're gonna show you what it is now.
Yeah.
So maybe that's what. Well,
So we
I mean,
have-
is it something? So here's a thought. So maybe the question is this: like, maybe it is sort of like, if we're doing this 2020 thing, it's really, if we're thinking about it, when you talk about. So remember, there's sort of the 4 areas, right? There's strategy, there's design, there's experience, and then there's marketing. Like these are kind of our competencies, right? So 2020 really, if we're being honest, is really talking about strategy, right? Because we're looking at what startup companies do.
Mhm.
It's not going to be like they use the color blue. Like that's not what we're going to talk about. It's not a branding exercise. We're not into design in 2020. We're not looking at, well, this one used a lot of cool fonts, you know. Really, it's strategy that we're solving for that. And then these 3 things we sort of do on our own, right? Like that's sort of the
These are
visualization.
the 2020 method, right?
Yeah. But that's really
Really
strategic.
diving into who they are.
Well, look, and it says right here, things unicorns do,
Yeah.
right? Not how they look,
Right.
right? Do. So, you know, and so maybe I'm thinking like it is sort of this, right? Like it's sort of like the 2020 is sort of solving for the, here's strategically as a company, here's what you have to do differently to be perceived this way, right? And then we'll take the rest to look the part, but you got to be the part. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Like we can't fake it, right? But if we skip this part and just do this, you're just gonna look like $1 million, right? Because you probably don't have, you're not acting like $1 billion. You're acting like $1 million now.
Mm-hmm.
So all we can do is make you act like $1 million up here, or look like $1 million. But if you can act like $1 billion down here, then our job is easy.
Yes.
Yeah. Boom a boom. That gets me excited.
Yeah. Then the brand vision is
Yeah.
that's where the design and all that.
Yes. Includes, like right now, then we're talking about strategy, branding, experience, and marketing, right? But I even said $1 billion vision, right, instead of version. right? So maybe that's it. Like now we're going to show you what that looks like. Now you've done it. Let's assume we've had this discussion. We've showed you these things. We've talked through them, and out of this, there's 3 of them that we all agree this needs to happen.
Yeah, and honestly, this is the special sauce right here.
Yeah.
The 2020 is the.
Yes, that's the pivoting of this.
Yes.
Because anyone can do this. Really. This is you know, this is what a lot of agencies do. But if we can get here and direct that, I mean, the value we bring is much greater. And we 10x the work that we're doing for them. Even if they're not doing it right away. See, this is the beauty of it too, is a lot of this stuff, this marketing stuff and experience stuff, in some cases it can if you're looking to act and look like $1 billion, you can take that to the bank in terms of going to a group of investors and being like, here's what we need to fund, right? So you don't just go to a VC and say, hey, give me money. I need another $20 million. No, they're like, what do you need the money for, right? Well, we have 5 things that we want to do. Thanks to our friends at Sightbox here.
Yep.
Kicked us in the pants. Now we have 5, we have 3 initiatives we want to do right now. It's going to take 20 million. Another 2 are going to take another 20 million. So that's what we need to do around. Because now we know, and the goal is this. Because right now we're just acting like a $100 million company. But now we know how to act like a $1 billion company. And we need money to do it. So they don't even have to execute this. They just have to agree to it.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that. That's clean. That just clarifies a lot, like what the mission is for that component. And yeah, can then at that point, like in 2020, right, get a sense of, like clear this up, see what we have to do, and then.
It's that Claritin commercial, man.
Is it?
It's
Oh yeah, the fog. Moves the glass aside. Yeah, it's all clear. So I'm just gonna write this. So this is the 2020. Not too here, and then we'll call it brand vision. Is then like how do we make it look it, right? How do we match that? And that's now our job, right? And in some ways, like this is sort of up to them, right? Like there's not much we can do to make them do this. Like you can't pawn that off, right? But this is where we step in to complete the picture.
And over here, we might suggest things that they don't like.
Oh
right?
yeah,
Like
that's
your whether it's your branding doesn't make sense. Or
your name sucks.
Your
Your
name
name's
sucks.
not worth $1 billion.
Right.
I mean,
No, that's where you go from this.
what is this?
Remember?
Oh yeah. Oh no. Oh shoot. Smaller.
See that?
Smaller. See what we did there?
See what we did there? Now that's worth $1 billion.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Exactly.
No.
No.
There you go.
There
Smaller.
it is. Smaller.
That's worth $1 billion right there. Yeah, no, I like coming in and just kind of disrupting stuff here.
Yeah.
And I'm perfectly fine not being what?
I'm just thinking.
Oh.
I'm just thinking. Go ahead. What are you saying?
I was just gonna say I'm perfectly fine being not for everyone.
No, and I think even so, like I want to have enough ideas. Like it's one of those things where it's not so much that we're going to force them, so to speak, but I think it's saying we're going to have let's just say 10 ideas or something like that on how to act like $1 billion. And we're going to say what the beauty of it is. If you go to that proposal thing, go to the InDesign. There it is.
The insights?
Insights, yes. So this is kind of what I think how it would sort of work. right? So how are you gonna act like $1 billion? So this is one way, right? Like for instance, bring consumer-focused experiences to the world of business, right? So what we would say is, I don't know, let's make up a company right now. Let's think it's a chat app.
Pied Piper.
Pied Piper. If we said like, how do we bring Squad. I'm trying to think of like.
What are you trying to? What kind of example are you trying?
Well, I'm trying to say like how we would apply this. I'm trying like because this is a B2B, right? And what we're saying is one of the problems with this client is that
they brought messaging to the clients.
Yeah, so this one's a story about Intercom, and essentially it's like Slack. It's like a Slack competitor, in a sense. And actually, you know what it is? It's sort of like Slack, but for customers and companies to chat. You know, like the little drift stuff. Yeah, but it takes the form of much more like a personal chat, like a WhatsApp or iMessage or that sort of thing. And so that's what they did. They said, rather than sort of come in with some weird convoluted chat protocol, let's just make it feel like they're texting on their regular app. That's about it. That was the big insight. And they sort of built it around that. And then they built a B2B solution so that companies could talk internally. But they built it like they just borrowed from the B2C world, right? And so that was their big insight. And so that's what we're saying to these guys is bring some of that into your own product. Instead of sort of looking around and being circular about your thinking and just doing a sort of slightly better version of what you have, which is I think sort of how they develop, right? We go in and say, here, consider taking consumer apps and experiences that are familiar to your audience and apply them to your platform. This can involve software and hardware as well as consumer services and pricing. So, you go on their site, you can't find pricing.
No.
There's no tiers, there's nothing. There's nowhere to sign up. There's no view of their hardware or their software. Just weird stuff like that. Like it's like, why would you sort of go on a limb and not do that? So anyway, so this is not our idea, right? It's something that Intercom did, and now they're worth $1.2 billion, right? It's not two schmucks, thinking of this stuff. It's us pulling from what actually is current. Like this happened. They just reached $1 billion this last year, so it's very relevant. If it worked for them, it might work for you. Right? That's our message. So what I would say is we kind of go through a number of these, right, of things that have worked. And this goes back to when I was saying too, like content creation. Like if we sort of look and say, we're going to create a library, we're going to create a whole thing on what some of these case studies are. As an agency, that's good stuff. Like we can start talking about those and doing blogs and videos and stuff based on what those case studies are. And then, say, well, there's more where that came from, right? So that's kind of how I see it working. So we would say, here's one way, here's another way, here's another way, just like we've done here, right? So this one was the idea was use consumer stuff. This one was, this was the thing on Epic.
Yeah.
Create free to use software that everyone can use. Right? So create some stuff, put it out there, download for free, don't charge them, the free tier, right? Basic functionality, basic features, but it gets them from searching, right? It gets them off the market. Quit shopping. That's what you want them to do. Quit shopping. You found it, try it. And then you're eventually going to upgrade. That's exactly what they did there. So anyway, so I think we do stuff like that. We list these things out. We tell them how this can be relevant to them, and by doing so can then act like $1 billion, right? And we can go. This is just a teaser, but we can go into much more detail on how they would actually execute it, right? Like what we're thinking that would actually be for them. And then they'll go through, they'll be like, we'll present this, they'll be like, love this one, that one not so much, and we love that one. Okay, great. Well, now we can, okay, great. So now are you guys agreeing that this is what you want to do? Yes, we'll agree, and this is what we're going to do with it, and we'll start our process in making that happen. Or at least let's go ahead and say that that's going to be on our roadmap. Add these things to our roadmap. And then say, okay, great, now we're going to come back, we're going to execute then, assuming that these things are going to happen. What would that look like as a teaser, right? What's the design of that? What's the experience? And what's the marketing on that? And then we come back and say, okay, here's the package, right? Now you can go do your round, get your money, and now we execute it all, right? So they've basically paid for a pitch to their investors, right? Or if this is VC funded for their next round, right? Or a way to spend the money that they've just been given, right?
Yeah.
VC might be sitting there like, look, I just spent $5 million on these guys, and I'm not seeing they're out of ideas, right? They did what we executed on on their first pitch was they had a hypothesis. We spent the money on it, didn't work. I need more ideas. I need plan B and C and D. And that's where we come in, right?
We need Miles Finch.
Who's that?
From Elf.
Elf?
The movie Elf.
Elf. Oh, okay.
When they need the consultant because they ran out of ideas.
Is that it?
Book,
Okay.
and they bring in the little bit.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
We need Miles Finch.
Miles Finch.
Get
Well,
over here.
look at we're 2 short guys. We might get a little elf hat in. We'll play the part.
He only takes cash.
Is that true?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I'd buy that for $1.
You buy that?
Yeah. And the truth is, it's going to evolve.
Oh yeah.
We're just like you say, this is like phase 1
Yeah.
of this thing.
Yeah. We'll find out how well this sails pretty soon, I think.
Yeah. But I think this, like when we're talking about just even the website and stuff, I think we could formulate enough around this piece, the 2020, to hook people in.
Yeah.
So that we can lead them through sort of the next thing. But I like the progression of it.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if someone comes in through another door.
Yeah.
And we can sort of walk them back a little bit.
Yeah.
And say, well, actually, the way we work is this.
Yeah. Oh, do you guys do websites?
Right.
Yeah, but.
Walk it back.
Mm-hmm. We only work on, we breed unicorns.
Yeah.
We don't, no ponies,
No.
no horses,
No donkeys.
no donkeys. Like you gotta be in it to win it, or
Yeah.
else it's not worth the effort.
Exactly.
Because it's true, man. I mean, let's be honest. Like, how many founders have we talked to and stuff like that they wimp out? We worked on a number of products, and it's just like, they feel like they have this trick, and they're just gonna that's what they're gonna do until it works. And like you've been doing this for 4 or 5 years, or I'm trying to think of that one, the QR thing. I mean, come on, right? And we were like, look, you could take this a million ways that would probably work better, but you gotta pivot.
Yeah.
You gotta start acting like $1 billion company, thinking like $1 billion company, right? Versus sort of just playing the same deck of cards. Like, you gotta shuffle that sucker. Wow.
And now we have the confidence to say that because we're eating our own dog food. Right? We were doing that with our app.
Yeah, that's the truth. Like
We were expecting a different result doing the same thing,
Thing.
and we finally snapped it. Actually, the crazy thing is it was through working through all of this.
Yes, that's
Right?
yes. It's not by accident.
No, it wasn't not by accident. So, you know, like I said earlier, is we may have filmed this whole thing, right? This last time around this whole thing we were building,
Yeah.
and then started doing this, right? And then came back and said, you know what? No.
Yeah. All right.
We're not doing that.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
We're not doing that. We're doing this something else.
Yeah.
And that's where, and that was in a matter of like a couple of weeks. I mean, I literally went to Mexico and came back, and we had a whole other app. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Now imagine, you know, like I said earlier, pretend, let's use TAP as an example. If that was a client, imagine they were in the position we were, and we came back and said, this is the direction you need to go. That's invaluable.
Dude.
That is not worth 10, 20, 40 grand, whatever this is going to cost.
No. No.
It's invaluable.
Right.
That changes everything.
Changes everything. Exactly. Exactly. And if they're in a position where they can actually either have funding or they can get it, done.
Yeah.
Right? Like at that point they're like, let me make a couple of phone calls, you know, and let's hit it. I mean, look at Envision, for instance, right? Do you remember when they announced Envision Studio? Do you remember when they did that?
Vaguely.
3-4 years ago, like a long time ago.
And it didn't come out for
A long time.
a while, right?
And in fact, I bet if you watch that pitch video, like what they have now is not that. My feeling, and I remember reading a little bit about this, that they came out with that video and said, we're building this app way before they had the funding to do it. Like they were doing two things. They were getting out there and saying, they were trying to stop competitors from trying, right? At that point, what's the one we use? Sketch,
Yeah.
right? Was really starting to pick up. And I'm sure they were like, uh-oh, like our product roadmap says that we're gonna have an app that does what Sketch is doing. And every day we're losing people to Sketch. So let's put some stuff out there that says this is coming soon to just hold people back, you know, and so that they could raise another round. And I want to say that they raised a round like 3 months after that video came out.
And what was their last evaluation?
They think they're worth $1 billion.
Right.
Like their last round is over, had them valued at over $1 billion.
Yeah.
Or 2 or something like that.
Yeah,
right?
it was significant.
And we're like, what in the? And they have over 800 employees worldwide. That doesn't make any sense. We're like, what are they doing? I don't know. What?
I just wanted
possibly
horizontal scrolling. Man.
Those and honest to God, like Envision hasn't changed in like 3 years, so I don't know what they're coding. I don't know. I don't know where those 800 people are working and what they're doing, but whatever. So, but the point is, like those companies play that game. They'll introduce products or they'll announce things that aren't even done yet, in order to build investor enthusiasm, and 2, just sort of keep competition at bay. So, you look at Tesla, right? Tesla plays that game. Like they're talking up this truck thing. Do you hear that?
Yes.
Right? They're gonna launch a $50,000 electric truck that's better than the F-150 and drives like a Porsche. That's what they said. So anyone out there right now who's like, I was gonna buy a souped up F-150 or whatever.
You just held them off.
They just put their they just put their wallet back in their pocket and said, I'll wait. All right. Now we're talking, right? And what does it do for them too, right? Well, Elon can just go, because they just raised a $2.5 billion round. That's how much freaking money they raised. They just said, we need some money. $2.5 billion just came out of the frickin' nowhere. Like, people are just like, take my money.
Yeah.
So,
Take it.
you know, so you look at that and you're like, okay, you know, everyone, that's the game. And do they have pictures of this truck? You know, no.
No, it's like probably a render of like something sexy. And
Yeah, there's like a light
Yeah.
flare thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's it. Why? Because they're looking like this.
Yeah.
They're playing the game. They're acting it. They're looking it, and eventually they'll be it, right? Like it's sort of inevitable. You put all that out there, then you have to follow through. And if you get, especially if you get the money, you just execute. Even if it's a flop, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. You know, that's for later. Aw, dang it. Okay. I feel good. I feel like that's about all I needed. We can keep talking about it, but I feel like
This is good.
in terms of process, I feel like I have a much better idea. So the part of it too is this part, right, is finding those examples, that homework. I think that trends thing is going to help in that, because that's, from what I understand, like that's what that thing is supposed to be providing. I want to actually create a database, believe it or not. Probably, I don't know if it'll be a spreadsheet or whatever.
Yeah.
But I'm going to make one so that we
What
can
do you think
reference
about
it.
like so like these insights?
Yeah.
Why not just publish them?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
But like using the medium or whatever.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Like who cares?
Yeah, put it out there.
Or in WordPress.
Yeah,
It's a WordPress site.
yeah. Do it both ways, right? But I think the idea would be, that
Yeah, we can put them in both. It doesn't matter.
yeah. And the reason I feel like we can just throw it out there is, you know, drawing the line between what we're saying over here and how it relates. They may not even see it, right? They'll be like, I don't know, how does that apply to my business, right? Right? They might not see it. But the other thing is these insights are whatever they're going to constantly be evolving, right? Like it's going to be like, you know, we talked about this, like have a group like even every year, like almost publish like the volume for 2019, you know, volume for, ironically next year is 2020, so that's funny. So having like a volume set of like what these are, and that they're always evolving, you know?
Yeah.
There's always new case studies that are adding in. So this may not be the latest and greatest. Like it could just be one that we've done, you know. I'm not worried about showing it, like
Just content.
just content, yeah. And suddenly now we're making sense. Who's that one guy? There's this guy. He's a professor at some New York university, but he does this winners and losers thing. Have you seen this thing? But he does this whole like analysis of some, you know, some consumer industry, and he's, I guess, famous for predicting that Amazon would purchase Whole Foods. But he just kind of goes on this thing and he talks about what's happening and what he predicts will happen as a result, and he uses this sort of methodology of like, okay, well, this has happened before, so it could happen again. I don't know. It's just, but he throws it out there like very valuable information for free, you know. And it's not like he's I mean, at the same time, do you think he's consulting? You're damn right he is. He's making a boatload, right? But you're getting a taste of it. You know, you're getting a snack. You can get them hooked. And that's content marketing, right?
All day.
All day. Blogs, throw out, you know, you can throw out a quarterly ebook, you know, a volume, a magazine,
Yeah.
up it, you know.
Once we have the content, then it's just up to us to do something with it.
Yeah. Another podcast. Yeah. Yep.
Why not?
Why not? Just new doc. Just create. Come up with catchy little name, and off we go.
It's like there's like six or seven podcasts out there, but it's just these same two guys talking about the same thing.
Same thing.
Just put a new name to it, and a new song,
New intro music.
new intro music.
Yep.
Rock and roll.
Yeah, good stuff.